What if the very thing holding you back in the new year isn't ahead of you but behind you? There was a year where I stepped into January already exhausted. Not because of what was coming, but because of what I had refused to let go of. I carried regrets from years before. I replayed conversations in my head, things I should have said, things I wish I hadn't. I held on to anger over situations that I couldn't change, and disappointments clung to me like weights chained to my soul. And yet I told myself this year will be different. But how could it be? How could it be different if I was dragging last year's baggage into this year's beginning? And that's where most of us live. We don't stumble into the new year fresh. We walk into it carrying December's failures, November's heartbreaks, October's mistakes. And we're trying to sprint into our future with chains still attached to our ankles. But hear me out. You weren't designed to drag chains into your next chapter. You were designed to walk free. This is part 1 of our series on mindset shifts for your best year yet. And I'm glad you're here because in part 1, we're talking about release and renewal. Because if you want to step into your new year with a power and clarity, with a peace and a confidence, there's some things that you need to leave behind. So as I get started, what are you still carrying? Here's the trap. Most people enter a new year already defeated. And it's not because they lack goals. It's not because they lack ambition. And in some instances, it's not even because they lack discipline. But for many, it's simply because they have not made peace with what's behind them. For you, maybe it's a career setback that whispers you'll never bounce back. Or maybe it's a relationship that broke you and you're still replaying the conversations at 2 a.m. Maybe for you, it's a goal you didn't hit and the shame sits heavy on your shoulders. And guess what? Here comes January and we slap a vision board on the wall. We make a list of resolutions and we declare, this will be my year. But here's the problem. You can't plaster a coat of fresh paint over a foundation that is cracked. You can't pour new wine into old wineskins. You can't fully step into the new until you release the old. And here's the subtle lie that many believe. Time will heal it. But time can't heal what you refuse to confront. It just buries it deeper. And some of you are walking around with things that happened 5, 10, maybe even 20 years ago. Words spoken over you, betrayals that cut deep, failures that left scars. And you've convinced yourself, it's fine. It doesn't affect me anymore. When the truth is, your actions say differently. It's like running a marathon with a weighted vest on. You might still be moving, but you're slower. You're more exhausted, and you might be wondering why life feels so heavy. And the reason is until you release the old, the new can't fully take root. So how do we actually do this? I'm gonna give you 3 powerful mindset shifts that will assist you in letting it go. The first mindset shift required is from regret to reflection. Regret keeps you stuck. Reflection equips you to move forward. Regret says you failed and it defines you. Reflection says you learned and it refines you. Regrets chain you to the past, but reflection grants you wisdom for the future. And the truth is, failure isn't final until we stop learning from it. I'm reminded of Thomas Edison that famously said, I have not failed, I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. It is reflection that turned his failures into stepping stones. So take a moment and ask yourself, what can this teach me? That one question begins to transform regret into growth. The next mindset shift we need to adopt is from clinging to letting go. You can't receive what's next if your hands are full of the past. Imagine standing on a cliff. A helicopter lowers down in hopes of rescuing you. But in your hand, you're still clinging to an old rope. It's fraying, it's burning your palms. You want to grab the new one, but you won't release the old one. And what ends up happening is you stay stuck. That's how so many live their lives, half holding on to the past while half reaching for the future. And at the end of the day, wondering why you feel so torn up inside. And I want you to hear me. Letting go doesn't mean the past didn't matter. It means it no longer gets to master you. The third mindset shift we need to adopt is from control to surrender. Peace isn't found in fixing everything. Peace is found in trusting God enough to release what you can't control. And so much of our stress and our anxiety, those sleepless nights, come from clinging on to things that we were not meant to hold, clinging on to things that aren't really in our hands in the first place. You can't control what they did. You can't control what didn't happen. You can't control the calendar, but you can control how you respond. You can control what you choose to carry. And sometimes surrender is the most powerful form of strength. There was one year where I refused to let go. I remember it vividly. I replayed the failure. I nursed the bitterness. I carried the shame everywhere I went. And no matter how many goals I set, I couldn't catch traction because I was trying to run forward while dragging a ball and chain. I'd wake up heavy, and even though I'd work hard, it always felt like I was swimming upstream. And at the end of the day, I'd collapse, wondering why nothing seemed to change in my life. But I remember the season where I chose to release it. I remember sitting down at my computer and writing down in detail the thing that was haunting me, the mistake, the disappointment, that pain that I couldn't shake. Towards the end of that letter, I began to write what that experience had taught me, and I began to thank the experience for the lesson. And when I was finished, I said out loud, "This no longer owns me." And the freedom that followed was undeniable. Suddenly, my energy wasn't stuck in the past. It was available for the future. My creativity returned, my confidence returned, my joy came back. And I realized that holding on cost me momentum, while letting go gave me the breakthrough I needed. And maybe for you, it won't be typing up a letter. Maybe it's having a hard conversation. Maybe it's forgiving someone who will never ask for your forgiveness. Or maybe it's choosing to forgive yourself. But hear me out. You will never regret letting go of what was never meant to be carried into your future. Journal this thought. What am I carrying that I don't need to? And don't just write the answer. Slow down, think about it. Get brutally honest. Is it a habit? Is it a regret? Is it a resentment? A name or a failure? Maybe a dream that you've buried. Once you write it out, then take the action to release it. Maybe it's physically tearing the paper, burning the paper. Maybe it's saying out loud as you crumble it up, throw it in the trash. Maybe it's praying over it or sharing your burden with a friend. The way you go about it doesn't matter. Just do what fits you. But the most important part is don't just identify. Make a quality decision that today, this will no longer own me. And just because you said that, by the way, doesn't mean that all those thoughts and feelings are going to go away. But every time it comes up, I want you to say out loud, today, this no longer owns me because I get to choose what I focus on. And while you do it, know that what you release is creating space for what's next. I love the story about how zookeepers move elephants from one habitat to the next. When the elephant is young, they tie a chain to its leg. The elephant pulls and pulls, but the chain doesn't break. Eventually, the elephant begins to learn that resistance is pointless here. Years later, when the elephant is grown, strong enough to break the chain without effort, they don't even bother resisting anymore. The elephant could walk free at any moment, but it doesn't. Not because it's trapped, but because it believes it is. And that's how so many enter a new year. That rope of regret, that rope of failure, that rope of old pain, it isn't strong enough to hold us anymore. But as long as we believe it is, we will stay stuck. Freedom isn't about breaking the rope. It's about realizing it never had the power to hold you in the first place. So maybe the only thing between you and the future that you've always dreamed of is the courage to stop believing that the rope is stronger than you. I dare you to cut it and walk free. Don't wait for January 1st to feel new. Freedom doesn't start with a date on a calendar. Freedom starts the moment you decide to release. So here's my challenge. Release one thing before the new year begins. Step into your next chapter feeling light, feeling free, and feeling ready. Because you're not meant to drag yesterday into tomorrow. You're meant to walk boldly into what's next. If you enjoyed this video, I want you to put in the comments, I'm releasing whatever it is. And hey, this is part 1 of mindset shifts for your best year yet. Stay tuned for part 2. And always remember that growth is a journey. It's not a destination. I'm in it with you. And I'll see you on the next one.